Hello, friends, and welcome to the Cold War Prepper. This is Lee. Golly, some of my favorite people here already. And then I want to do some bragging. So we've got LG, better known as Hello Tofu. We've got Little Lone Prepper, USMC 935. I heard a name for you on a different channel, and I forgot what it was. It's a feminine name, but I forgot what it was. I'm sorry. Scott Hummer, I wonder what your name is. But anyhow, thank you all so very much. Let me brag about LG Hello Tofu. We had an interview last night with a guy I really admire, a guy by the name of JJ Johnson from Reality Survival. And so we had a couple links that Amy, thank you. And hi, GGG Farms. And so we had a couple talks about some things and different channels and different websites and things that we recommended that people go to. And so Hello Tofu, as a moderator, collected all of those links, put them together in an email for me. So now all I have to do is go copy and paste her email into the about section of the of last night's 1 hour interview. And then you'll have all the links that we talked about yesterday or last night. So thank you so much for that, Hello Tofu. That was just phenomenal. I have some of the best moderators, and you never can have enough moderators. So if anybody's interested, Amy, GGG Farms, Scott Hummer, if any of you guys who are regulars are interested in being a moderator, I would greatly appreciate that. And one of the things I learned as a moderator, just to give you a hint, is as a moderator, when you're moderating conversations off to the right, you want to post somebody's link so that everybody can kind of subscribe to that link. And I have no objections, Hello Tofu, if you start posting everybody's links in the chat so that we can subscribe to and refer each other to each other. We want to grow everybody's channels. We need more people involved. We need to support each other, and especially the small channels. And here I am calling myself. I'm in the top end of the small channel sizes, but we just need to support each other. So the more we can do to get people to follow you, the better off we're going to be. I forget who I was talking to last night. I used to do a Saturday afternoon grow your channel, and it was a half hour, and I would interview somebody just very, very quickly. Hello, Linda. And we would just, hello, Dragon Slayer. And we would interview somebody, just kind of to have conversation. But the whole purpose of that half hour was to subscribe to each other's channels. And so we're considering doing that again. We may see if that happens. So I've got a wrinkle there. And I've had some problems with this nostril just suddenly bursting out into bleeding. So if that happens tonight, if I have my bandage in my finger over my left nostril, please understand that's why. Spontaneous bleeding. I guess I have too much blood. Hello, Grateful Preps from New Jersey. I wonder where you're from. Butch Graves says he's from Colorado. I was just reading the book I'm currently reading. The world, the end of the world is just the beginning by Peter Zien. And JJ and I were talking about that last night. He says, boy, your whole impression about prepping is going to change by the end of that book. And we shall see. But he was just talking about Denver and how if it weren't for the fact that we had the technologies, thank you, Triple G Farms. Yes, I will. I've got you added to my list to invite already. But one of the things that he pointed out was Denver would not exist if we hadn't boreholed through mountains to get water into Denver, because Denver has such a poor water supply on the plains on the east side of the Rockies, and that they only get like 6 inches of rain a year, Whereas just the other side of the Rockies, it's a plethora of rain, 24, 36 inches of rain a year. So, if it weren't for technology and modern technology, Denver wouldn't exist. So, that's the whole theory behind it, is once there is a cataclysmic fall, that everything that is based upon technology is going to be back to the mid-19th century. And so we need to be prepared for that. However, the good news is that everybody here is interested in being prepared to lose everything, because we are preparing alternative methods of coping with that. So, this is the book we're talking about tonight. And then we've got 2 more chapters after this one. And then the book after that, let me reach over here. For our Tuesday night discussions is going to be this book, Strategies for Surviving the Coming Unpleasantness. And that's by A. American. That's the guy whose fiction series we're reading. Don't forget, we're doing volume 3 of the fiction series, which is Escaping Home, this book here. And so this book is going to be discussed this Thursday night at 8 o'clock, and hope to see you all there. Okay, what questions do you have before we get into the 2 chapters we're going to be discussing tonight? Or is there anything you want to bring up, or any special discussion you want to have prior to getting into this? Okay, then let's go ahead and start with special needs. And so number 1 is my autobiography, How to Deal with the Elderly, the Cantankerous, Crudgy, Old Elderly. So, what are you going to do? Well, one of the things I've done to amend for this is I took my bug out bag and my wife's bug out bag, and I bought the 2-wheel dollies, the moving dollies. And so both of our bug out bags are basically bungee corded to a 2-wheel dolly. So we don't have to, pull that over our shoulders. We can actually pull it through. Now, disadvantages, we can't go cross country with that. That's we're going to have to stick to pretty much paved roads. But yes, Dragon Slayer, I do have high blood pressure, and I take medication for it. I think I take Lotensin, 50 milligrams. And okay. So Grateful Prep says east side of the Rockies will soon be the only dry place in the U.S. That's a possibility. Texas snowpocalypse. You want to talk about that? You want to talk about 2.0, which is coming right now? So my recommendations, a couple things. Number 1, a buddy heater. They're phenomenal, and you can get the 1-pound propane tanks. 6 1-pound tanks, I believe, is around $15 at Sam's Club. You can also get the Vesta InstaFire heater. And that's going to use the Safe Fire Sterno cans that you can get at Sam's as well. And you get 12 of those cans for $20. It takes 3 to heat, maximum heat at a time. 1 can powers the fan so that it's blowing warm air into your area. It's the only one I know that has an integrated fan. And then the other 2, you can use 1 or 2 for the amount of heat you want to generate to blow into that area. So let me see. So those are the 2 things I would do. I also make my own kind of safe heat cans, and I did a video earlier, and it's basically take a tuna can, use a safe opener, a side cutting opener to get the lid off the tuna. Then you cut some cardboard with the corrugation pointing up so that you've got the cores, so you can see the cores. And you cut that just a 1/4 inch deeper or shallower than the rims of the can. And then once you get that pushed in there, coiled in there and turned in, so that becomes a giant wick, then you pour paraffin, melted paraffin on top of that. That becomes a humongous flame, very hot. You can put that on a brick on your oven door, and that's going to provide heat for you. You can also put it in your Vesta InstaFire, and that'll provide heat for you as well. Another thing is I showed you in my last haul video, I went and bought a steel bucket, and I'm going to get another one, so that what I can do there is I can take rocks, river rocks, or bricks, take them out and put them in my charcoal grill, get the bricks hot, put the hot bricks inside the steel bucket, bring the steel bucket inside the house, and then put that on the door to the oven as well. And that's going to provide heat. So those two ways. Then the last way was provide a micro environment. Remember back in the Middle Ages, they had canopy beds where you had 4 walls of blankets, basically of sheeting around the bed, and you had a roof over it. What you're doing is creating a micro environment so that your 98.6 degree exhalations are basically warming up your smaller tent, if you will, inside your bedroom. Well, you can do that same thing. If you have a tent with those flexible poles that you don't have to drive into the ground, you can put one of those in your living room or in your bedroom, sleep inside there, and you're creating the same thing, basically a micro environment. Let me see here. I have a body heater and a solar generator. Yes, you need solar generation if you're on CPAP or like I am on oxygen. So there is no thyroid medicine. Yes, Amy, you're absolutely right. My wife takes thyroid medicine, and that's we get very concerned when the prescription starts running low. Hello, Coffee First. Yes, I have heard that. Yes, I have heard that. Unfortunately, we have type 1 brittle here. Oh, Carbird or K-Bird from Central Texas. Interesting. Triple G Farms is from Central Texas, and so am I. So both of us would be very curious what part, just at least a county of Central Texas you're from. Okay, so those with special needs may include the elderly, people with diabetes or medical conditions, pregnant women, and children. So, I was thinking in our plans, we have, actions to take if we have enough time. And so one of my son-in-law's things is to go get as many diapers and pull-ups as he can. They've got 3 children from 2 months to 4 years. And so that's going to be critical for us, as well as, us having a plan ahead of time on how we're going to dispose of that, because you don't want to have all that kind of stuff, roaming around the house. Hello, Tofu. You are fantastic. Thank you for that video. So yeah, that's the video, I believe, on how to make your what I call a Boy Scout stove. Triple G Farms is in Lampasas area. I've got to get up there and get a cup of coffee with him. I'm down in the northern suburbs of Austin. Elderly preppers should assess their physical limitations, if any, and take any steps to minimize the impact of those limitations. Such steps may include stocking medications or medical equipment, compiling medical information, and establishing a trusted network of supporters. I think, and we're going to talk about that network next. That's the next chapter, chapter 17. But I think that if we come to the realization that we aren't going to do it alone, that we need a group of people, and the way that I envision that happening is, or at least my explanation of it is, if I'm going to go get firewood, who's protecting my home? If I'm going to go get water, who's protecting my home? Vice versa, if I'm here protecting my home, I'm not going out and getting water or firewood. So I need somebody else who can provide security for my home while I'm not here, or I need somebody else to go do those functions for me so I can secure my home. And so that's the advantage. That's one of the things you want to think of as you're establishing your network. Triple G, yes, I tell you, I was looking at it today, and I'm trying to decide. It was $119 for the basic jet boil system on Amazon, and $117 for the basic Jetboil system at Bass Pro Shop. So, I'm interested in getting that. But one of the things that I have to be very, very concerned about is, what can I get as an alternative to spending that 120, let's round it to 120. What can I get in alternative for that 120? Because those little canisters, we got to get a whole bunch of those in order to keep an ample supply of fuel for that Jetboil. As far as a product, I think it's one of the most outstanding cooking systems there are on the market, and I love their pot, and I love the titanium pots you can get from. Who do I get my tap? Alpine Preparedness? No, that's a channel. Anyhow, I like the titanium pots you can get to go with it as well. Wow, a $50 knockoff. Yeah, you'll have to send me the link for that in my email. Yeah, so yeah, same situation, trying to be two places at once and doing the same thing. So, that becomes extremely important. Okay, good info. Thank you. Number 3, from a preparedness point of view, the challenges facing people with diabetes or disabilities are in many cases similar to those facing the elderly, since challenges often result from mobility, limitations, or impaired senses. However, every case is unique and needs must be addressed with individual concerns. So, some of us are caring for family members with mental disabilities, let's call it. So whether that be bipolar disorder or whether they be in the spectrum, anywhere from, uh, gosh, I'm forgetting what the spectrum is now, but anyhow, anywhere in the spectrum of disabilities, mental disabilities, and you have to care for them. There's also physical disabilities and people who may be wheelchair bound or who need special care and attention, whether that be helping them with their medications, helping them with basic life functions, or anything like that. So we have to take all of that into consideration in our plans as we're planning our, what we're going to do. Thank you, Hello Tofu. You are a champ and a half. Pregnant women are particularly susceptible during a crisis, and we really have to pay close attention to them. They should be careful not to get too hot or too cold, to limit their physical activity, but not totally. And if forced to evacuate, anyone with a medical condition, such as being pregnant, should take their medical records and any appropriate supplies, vitamins, medications, etc. And they should also inform emergency personnel of their condition prior to receiving medical care. One of the things, if you're elderly, there's 2 things I want to recommend that you do. Number 1, make sure you have one of these. If you can see, well, not that one. That one's nice, a great one to have. I'm looking for this one. I'm looking for this one. So, make sure that's St. Michael. Doggone it. There we go. Make sure you have one of these, your medical alert bracelet or tablet or bracelet or whatever, and then have a card in your wallet letting people know about your physical disabilities and limitations. So you want to make them aware, especially of any allergies. For example, I'm allergic to azithromycin. I'm allergic to formaldehyde and formoterol. So the azithromycin is one of the major antibiotics. Yeah, and as a matter of fact, when I talked to the people at Jace, when I bought my Jace case, I told them I was allergic to azithromycin, so they put in a different one because that's one of the common ones they put in as far as antibiotics in that kit. And I strongly recommend you get one. The link will be in the description down below. So thank you for mentioning that, Triple G. The girls are going crazy. Somebody set off our front yard movement detector. But also in my wallet, I carry a couple of things, so number 1, in case I need extreme unction, I do have, right here at the very front, right behind my driver's license is I'm a Catholic. Please call a priest to administer extreme unction, or the last sacrament. Then the other thing directly behind my driver's license, if I can get my driver's license out, is no, it's not there. Where is it? There it is. It's the next one up. Is my Med Alert card. So this tells all my allergies and everything else, and it also has a list of my medications. I keep right with that a printout that I did on the computer of all the medications that I am taking. So consider doing that as well. Take care, coffee. So make sure you have a list of all your medications with you as well. That's going to assist in care if care is available. I recommend you also get a copy of the books. I've shown them several times in the past. Joe Alton, MD, and his wife Amy, Nurse Amy. They have the first aid book and the pandemic book, and then the medications book. Then there's also Where There Is No Doctor. Those 4 books I think should be essential in your kit. Especially if you have elderly or disabled people in your group, or pregnant women in your group. Children respond better to honest, clear discussions about threats. Don't frighten them, but don't lose credibility either. One of the things I really liked, and I highlighted, if I can find it, here it is. So in the book, they have the different recommendations for how you talk to and reason with the various ages of children from infancy up through preteen. So, basically birth to 2 years is category 1, 3 to 6 is category 2, 7 to 10 is category 3, and then ages 11 plus is category 4. And, how to reason with them, how to explain things to them. And, so that's extremely critical for me as a grandparent, is being able to have those. So that's important to me. That is fantastic. That is fantastic. So, okay. Then next it says, when around children, be mindful of your behavior. Kids watch their parents and other seniors for clues as to how they should act. So they're going to mimic what you do. Just take a look at their vocabulary sometimes. If you use some bad vocabulary, they're going to have a tendency to repeat that. Don't frighten them. Don't lose your credibility. Put on a brave face. The more stoic you are, the better they are going to take it. And let me tell you something. There's an awful lot of doom and gloom going on right now. I mean, it is filling the channels. And let's not focus on the doom and gloom. We're preppers. We're preparing for whatever happens. The more prepared we are, the better off we are to meet any of the threats that are out there. And don't be distracted by them, is part of what I want to say. Yes, they're out there, but it doesn't matter what the threat is. As long as we're preparing for all threats, we've got it covered. We'll be here. Now, the only thing I can see that's going to change that is if you're at ground zero of a ICBM, and I don't see most of us as being that. I don't see most people living in a strategic target of value to waste that much of a resource on. So, I think most of us, and to be totally honest with you, I don't believe we have never set off a ground based explosion of a thermonuclear device, an atomic bomb. The 2 times they've been used in warfare, both were air bursts so that we could avoid fallout, because what happens is when that fireball touches the earth, it irradiates the earth and then blows it up into the air. And then as those cool, remember, hotter things float and cooler things fall down. So as that cools and falls down in that plume, that upwind plume or downwind plume from that explosion, that's the fallout. Most countries want to have maximum destruction, which is actually going to be with an air burst, because that's going to concentrate the focus of that explosion on the property. You're going to have a maximum cone of destruction around that air burst, and that's going to be what they're going to go for. So I don't foresee that much of a fallout condition existing. But that's my personal interpretation. So, you can have your own. Oh, really? I will have to check into everybody. That needs to go to everybody. And welcome, by the way, Acer. So he says that there is an ICE app in case of emergency on the cell phone that can be accessed without the password. You can put all your information in for EMS. Another thing is we had those, where's the beef? Please help me, I've fallen necklaces for a while, but boy, are they easy to set off. And so we turned them back in, but they gave us, like the real estate agents have those key locks, those combination key locks on the door. And if you know the combination, then you can get the key and come in. So when we quit, they let us keep that. So my key lock combination is on file now with the fire department and with the police department. So they don't need a no-knock warrant. They can just come in and open it, that way. But, that's just the way it is, I guess. Contact your children's school administrator to ask about their emergency plans, about pickup plans. Grandparents, will grandparents be allowed to pick up the children in case the parents are stuck in traffic? All those kinds of contingencies. Be certain you have your current emergency contact information up to date. Carry that. I do that in my wallet as well. The time to make emergency preparations for your pets is before the disaster. So we just bought, we keep 4 40-pound bags of Nutro for our dogs, as well as 4 20-pound bags of Caesars. And then we have 4 cases of the Caesars food. So we have a whole bunch for our little Chihuahuas that well, one's not so little anymore. She's getting fat and sloppy. But anyhow, isn't that right, Addie? Going on a diet. But anyhow, we are going to take care of our dogs. One of the other things is get some pads, get some training pads, because in case there is fallout, you want to have an alternative way so your dogs can relieve themselves inside your home and not have to let them outside into that fallout condition. So remember to take care of their hygiene needs, let's call it, in case anything happens. And make sure you have good harnesses, cages, whatever, so that if you need to evacuate, you can handle your pets and take them with you. Then chapter 17 we'll get into is creating a disaster planning network. First step is what you're doing right now, and that is, for example, we have found out that Triple G Farms, who was it, Kay, I believe it was, and I are all in Central Texas. How can we get together and mutually support each other? So, that's step one. There are other things you can do. Is there something going on through your church? For example, we have both the Legion of Mary and we have the St. Vincent de Paul ministries at the church. And so can you take an active role in something at your church where you're meeting people who are of the same ilk? We're doing Catechism of the Catholic Church in a year. So we're going through a daily quest to read this entire book in 1 year. And then at the church, we get together every other Friday and have a little group with coffee, donuts, and we talk about what we've studied over the course of the last 2 weeks. It has turned out that in my CCC class, Catholic Catechism, Catholic Church Catechism, that there are 5 families, 50 years old and older, who live within 1 block of me in that class. Guess what? That's a fantastic way to get to meet people, so that we can, get together in case something happens. And so that's 2 ways. So it's also most effective when members strive to pool resources, share supplies, and leverage skills. If you can find people with some of the skills that you don't have, who you can attract to your group, that's going to be phenomenal. A physician would be great. A nurse would be great. A construction type person, somebody who is skilled, a handyman who's capable of building things, connecting electric wires, plumbing, reestablishing sewage, and all those different kinds of things. Just think of all the different things you're going to need if you were living in a town in 19th century, mid 1800s US. So imagine one of those Wild West frontier towns. What all was there? Give you a couple of good examples. I have a solar freezer. And so when I go out and buy my things for my prep, I try to get 1 Teflon ice cube tray. Why? I'm going to have probably the only freezer in town. So if people want ice, I can sell them ice. So I can become that. I recently bought a candle making kit. And my purpose there is not to make candles, scented candles, and flowery candles and everything else. But you bring me your stubs, I'll melt those, combine those into new candles, and then sell new candles. So that's another thing you might consider doing. What are some of the other things we're going to need? Leather workers, charcoal makers, wood splitters. I'll tell you what, somebody who could split and cure wood, and somebody, because remember, it takes almost a year to cure wood. So somebody who starts splitting wood now and curing it and having cured wood available for fireplaces, once SHTF happens, and you can walk around with a wheelbarrow and sell that, oh my gosh, that would be phenomenal. Conduct an initial meeting where you're getting people together and saying, this is what we're going to do. And, think about some things like, are you going to have a common radio? Are you going to have a common frequency? How are you going to set up call signs? When are you going to communicate with each other? What's normal? What's abnormal? Coming up with all those kinds of plans, writing them down, printing them out, and passing them out before SHTF. At a follow-up meeting, you begin to discuss the group's needs, allowing people to lead in different areas, gather and distribute all the contact information and personal information that you want to share. Things to check up on. So, for example, we have an elderly lady. She's probably in her 90s, lives alone. She's pretty self-supportive and self-functioning, but she does have some limitations. And so if we don't see her on a daily basis, then we start to worry about her and knock on her window or knock on her door and check on her and see how she's doing. So, at what point do you start checking up on your neighbors? Consider becoming active in online disaster preparedness communities. And that's kind of what this is. This is an online disaster preparedness community. But there's the American Preppers Network, where you can also find more people who are in your local area. There's also TACDA, TACDA.org. That's the American Civil Defense Association. I'm a member, have been for over a year. Outstanding group of people. You can find people close to where you live as well. Another good source that you might want to check into would be go online to see if there is a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints preparedness, disaster preparedness, or what do they call them? Self-reliance centers. One of their stores close to you, where you might meet up with other people as they're buying emergency supplies. Now, I will say, when you consider that Austin is the 11th largest city in the U.S. and the only LDS disaster preparedness store in the greater Austin area is in Round Rock, only once or twice in the 10 years that I've been going there on a regular basis have I encountered at least one, if not two other preppers there preparing at the same time. Normally it's empty and I'm the only person there. So, it is a chance to meet somebody, but then again, Austin also has the Austin Council of Churches has put together what they call the Disaster Preparedness Network. And so if you are an active member of a church in the greater Austin area, then you can go to this Disaster Preparedness Network, join it, and get trained in how you can go out and respond to disasters and help other people. There's also FEMA.org. If you go to FEMA.org, they have all kinds of wonderful classes online. In most organizations, in most communities, they have what's called CERT, CERT, and that's the Community Emergency Response Team. That is some of the best training I have received in prepping. My favorite class that I've ever seen was one called Stop the Bleed, and they had a dummy where they actually had an artery. All the major arteries were represented in a dummy, and it pumped out a Kool-Aid, basically, out of the arteries, but the arteries felt just like a real artery, so that you could learn how to go in to an open wound and put direct pressure on an artery. You could hemostatic close. You could what they call wound pack, which is taking dressing and just stuffing it in there until there's so much pressure internal that it stops the bleed. But just some of the best training I've ever had was through CERT, C-E-R-T, and that is run by the local community under the auspices of FEMA. So those are some of the other ways you might connect with other people. There is a channel. What is Travis's channel name? Just one second. Let me look up here. Let me go to another YouTube channel here. So you're going to see my face, and I'll try to continue talking as I look for Travis's channel and see if I can't give you his channel. He is taking an active role in trying to, and he has a website where he is trying to get people together so that they can plan and get into communities together. And there it is. And his channel is The Prepared Homestead. The THE Prepared Homestead, and Travis runs that one. So he also has a website where you can go to that website, put in where you are, find people of like mind in the immediate area of where you are so that y'all can get together. There's also local area announcements. So what I may do is I may find someplace here in the northern Austin suburbs, let's say Jarrell. There's a truck stop in Jarrell. So let's say I want to have a planning meeting and get a whole bunch of preppers together and say, hey, we're all going to get together at 8 o'clock at the travel stop in Hutto, Texas on Saturday, the X of Y. And he will post that and advertise it for you so that you can get other people to come in and visit with you. So that's another thing that Travis does. I think it's just superior in helping people wanting to get together. Let me see. Pat. So Dragon Slayer watches Travis all the time. Yeah, he's very good at putting news together. I think he probably spends more time lately on news than he does on actual prepping, but he is up in the Ozarks, and he does have a monthly meeting of his Ozarks community, and everybody is invited to attend. So just let them know. They'll help you find some housing or anything. They also have a camping area where you can camp if you want to, but you can go up there and spend the 2 days with him and his group. The two things I'm going to miss the most about a lack of society: Walmart's 88-cent flavored bottled water that's also not caffeinated, but carbonated. There we go. Carbonated bottled flavored water for 88 cents a bottle, and Bluebell ice cream. So I got to find a way to get Bluebell ice cream. I'll probably, step number one for me will be to run to Sam's and get one of those chest freezers, one of those 6 cubic foot chest freezers, and then run by all the stores, pick up all the Bluebell I can, and plug the chest freezer into my solar system here, and that'll have the chest freezer full of Bluebell ice cream, and my oxygen generator will have the number one priority. Oh, and a refrigerator for some insulin, but that's going to be about it. Okay, so that pretty much covers those 2 chapters. What questions or comments do you have? Would anybody, let me just do it this way. I am going to give you the invite code. So this is the code, so that if anybody would like to come on and introduce themselves and see if they can't get a following here this evening, just click on that link right there. That will take you into the back office. Once I see you in the back office, I will click on you, and you can be added live with me. Introduce yourself to the group, where you're from, what general area you're from, and or anything you would like to have other people know about you. And yeah, I will need a cow. So anything you'd like to introduce to the group or get them to follow you or anything, please feel free to take that link. And what happened to it here? I did put it up here, didn't I? Yeah, there it is. So just click on that link, and you can join me live on camera. Oh, wow, that is phenomenal, Amy. And what part of the country is that? The Corps of Renewal and Charity. That sounds a lot like St. Vincent de Paul. So St. Vincent de Paul is the Catholic equivalent of Goodwill. So we help people primarily with emergency funding, helping them pay their bills if they're short something for an electricity bill, or helping work things out like that, helping them to get food for their family, getting them in with the local food bank if they need support there, giving them rides to and from the hospital if that's necessary. If they don't have a vehicle, then we also have a store where we can employ people with disabilities and put them to work. And then we use the things that are donated and sold at the store to generate the income to pay them their salaries. So, I am a volunteer. So, as on the board of directors, we don't get paid. So you're minus all the large overhead management fees, and all you have are the employee fees and your rent, and that's pretty much it. Linda, you and Van City Prepper, now called Alpine Preparedness, are one and the same. So I did a video a little while ago. Remember, I had 21 years in the Army. So coffee is extremely important to me. So I talk about beans last the longest. And if you can't get beans and you have to have ground coffee, get it in the vacuum sealed bricks. And I love the German coffee. Kronug is my favorite. And then there's also, what's in the green package? But anyhow, German coffee is fantastic. It's ground to an espresso type of a grind, and then instant coffee. And so the instant coffees are pretty important to have as well. I probably have a stack of cases of instant coffee and coffee beans. I got most of my coffee beans from Black Rifle Coffee Company or from Starbucks. And then most of my ground coffee is either going to be from Costco, or it's going to be Black Rifle Coffee Company, or Seattle's Best. Seattle's Best beat out Starbucks in a taste competition. So Starbucks got upset and bought them out. But Seattle's Best is my favorite. Fifth Avenue is the one of theirs that I have in the freeze-dried bricks. And then I have another video on 5 ways to prepare coffee. the 5 ways to prepare coffee. You can percolate it, you can press it, you can steep it, you can do a pour over, and then you can do a French press. And so I've got all 5 of those methods in my coffee repertoire in case of an emergency. So I won't be without coffee. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. So I'm wondering if I can take coffee and mix it with my freeze-dried instant chocolate shake from Nutrient Survival. That would be interesting. I know I've seen a couple of people say that they do that. Okay. So Amy's in Illinois, but she says they're all over. Oh, wow. That is fantastic. Okay. So, hello, Tofu. Yeah, I know you're going to get that link for me. And what was it called? Korak. There we go. Okay, and Amy's going to email me a link. So all of you, take a look for Korak. If GGG Farms, if you go to, oh gosh, I think it's ARN, American Radio Network, which is basically the National Association of Ham Radio Operators, and put in where you are. They will let you know. Most ham radio clubs offer training on a regular basis. So they're very small fee. They're going to, they'll use the most current study guide. You can also buy it online. I bought one 2 years ago. I got past, part 1. I haven't gone back to it. I need to, but evidently the test has changed. It changed in 2023. They only use one test for like 2 or 3 years, and then they changed the test. But anyhow, so I need to get a new ham radio study guide. But ARN, check for your local ham radio club, and there's going to be a meeting near you, and they'll also do everything they can to help you get your license. Yeah, and cowboy coffee can that's so we call it army coffee. We take a clean sock and pour the ground coffee into the sock, and then just dip it into the boiling water and let it soak. And so it's called seeping coffee. Is the literal terminology for it. All right, that is fantastic. Okay, ham radio cash. Yeah, I think she does too, and I think I saw something where Rudy does that as well. So I'll have to give that a try. As if I don't have enough nutrient survival. I just because I had some nutrients. I mentioned nutrient survival a whole bunch in my previous food video. I sent Becky a copy of it, and she said, "Is there anything I need to help promote nutrient survival?" And if I need anything, I'll put it in my next order. I don't want to take too much free. Although what I may do is I'm getting close to 5,000 subscribers. So I may ask her for a donation of some things to give away as gifts once I reach 5,000 subscribers. Thank you, Hello Tofu. So there's the link to on how to prepare coffee in a post-SHTF environment. Okay. What else can we talk about this evening before we shut this down? Looks like we're going to be done a little bit early tonight. So we've got one more week left. Next week we've got the same. We've got 2 chapters. What to do with my book? There it is. It's hiding underneath it. I thought this was going to be a lot smaller book, but I'm doing a little bit bigger, in-depth study of the book of John in the Bible, and so that's an 8.5 by 11 book, and so it's covering this book. So let's see what we got here. Next week, we're going to be talking about the 5 horsemen of death, and we can probably just go ahead and finish the book up. EMP and CME, coronal mass ejection, solar storms, a fantastic channel to watch for solar storm activity is one called Suspicious Observer. Let me put that down for you here. So he not only does a whole bunch of Earth and solar type things. He also is talking about the polar shift in the U.S. I'm sorry, in the magnetic polar shift that happens every 12,000 years. Now we're getting closer and closer to it. But Suspicious Observer is very good. Watch him. He does a very good job on reporting about CMEs and things like that. So we're talking about EMP and CMEs, and then we'll finish up with chapter 20 as well, trial by fire. So next week will be our last week with this. We'll do 3 chapters because remember, we focused on that one full chapter of first aid that 1 week instead of doing 2. And then we will begin the book by A. American. So Linda's already subscribed to... She's already subscribed. Probably to Suspicious Observer. Okay, so I think that about does it. So let's take a look. Oh gosh, you know what I got in the mail today? Let me show you. I am so excited. Last year I did that Bible in a year, and I didn't get the timeline. So I ordered, and it came in at Christmas, the kids' Bible in a timeline. So it goes, everything that happened in the Bible from start of time all the way through, and just phenomenal. And then the back continues on. So it's just everything. It goes through the prophets and the judges and all that kinds of stuff. Well, the adult version came in the mail today. So I got my Great Adventure Bible timeline. And I mean, this is phenomenal. So, for example, let's take here. It talks about, it gives you which period of the Bible they're in. They says there's 12 periods of the Bible, which the narrative books are that define that in the timeline. It gives you the supplemental books, what other books were written during that same time period. What was the plan that God had during each one of the main periods? What were the northern countries, the 10 northern countries, Israel, versus the 2 southern countries, Judea, what was going on? So, you've got the United Countries. And so then what's happening in Egypt and the Sinai Peninsula, what's happening, who was the major world power at that time? So you can take that into consideration as you're studying the Bible. And then what was happening in secular history. So for example, one of the things that I thought was really interesting was the divided kingdom. So right after Solomon, it was divided into 2, and Jeroboam and Rehoboam were the 2 kings, and it divided it up into the northern 10 tribes and the southern 2 tribes. Well, at the same time that was happening, you've got the first Olympic Games happening in Greece, and then you've also got the founding of Rome, and then shortly thereafter, the completion of the construction of the Great Wall of China. So all these things are put into perspective so you can help you get a better understanding of the Bible as you're studying it. So I just thought that was fantastic. You can get it on, it's the Bible, the Great Ascension Bible Timeline, and you can get that on Amazon. So I was reaching for my Bible for a reason, because I wanted to go to Numbers, and I wanted to say, Numbers chapter 6, verses 24 through 26. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and give you peace. So with that, just remember, we're all in this together so we can come out the other side together. Please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other, because togetherness is the key. Dragon Slayer, I got that on Amazon, and it's called The Great Adventure Bible Timeline Chart. So, I strongly recommend it. It's going to help you in your Bible studies immensely. Okay. Have a great evening, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.